Welcome to episode 4 of Temporary Australians, and what an action-packed day we have today, and what an action-packed show coming up today. Fast Freddie, how good is he?
Mate, he came out for the Barry Sheene Festival's feed. Lovely guy, and he just loves to ride.
And Barry Sheene, I can't believe it's been so many years since he left us, but still his legacy lives on.
Well, 10 years of this event commemorating his riding career is just, it's going from strength to strength, and it's a great event.
Look forward to it. That's coming up on Temporary Australians.
Also on the show, we discover an evolution in tattoos. We go to Hobart and find some dedicated coffee drinkers. Shaun Lennard talks about a win-win. We look at a Titan Bike and Trike tribute bike. Maria Costello talks about her motorcycle racing career. We find out how to use a foot throttle. Kwik Mick talks about his engine blow-up. And we find out how Betty keeps the Hobart Ulysses in shape.
After Barry died, we went and sought his family's permission to use his name and call it the Barry Sheene Festival of Speed, and just in honour of Barry, and promote the thing. And gradually we've built it up, and 10th anniversary, and this year we've got Freddie Spencer out here.
I knew Barry from basically the time I was 18 years old when I first went over to Europe, and he was one of the veterans who really kind of embraced me and accepted me, and you know, I think in '83 he was probably happy when I beat Kenny for the World Championship with his battle with Kenny, you know, that he had over the years.
5 years ago we developed the Trans-Tasman Challenge, which is a reciprocal 2-round series. So we pay for a container or 2 container loads of kiwis to come over here, and it's match racing. So whatever class they're in and the bike, it's matched up with a similar bike and rider with the same lap times, and they just compete against one another. I'm glad to say that the Aussies won the trophy back last year, because the Kiwis won it 3 years in a row, which wasn't good for the Aussies, you know.
Not a good look, mate.
No, not a good look.
It's a great place for Hart to be. You know, obviously the Honda brand on a special occasion being the Barry Sheene, but with Freddie Spencer here, you know, world champion for Honda many years ago. And also we've got probably the largest congregation of returning riders, and some of them even who've been riding consistently still have never had training, and they're always excited about taking the plunge and getting involved in some training.
From what I hear, historic racing is actually becoming quite popular around the world. Is that your experience?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I've been doing it a while now, and even when I, you know, a few years ago started doing it, it wasn't so fashionable, but now, you know, everybody wants to jump on them, and I think it's because it's that connection with history and heritage, and there's some fantastic classic bikes to race.
A lot of old classic bikes, a lot of money here, and it's probably the biggest field of sidecars we have all year.
We're seeing this incredible growth around the world of classic and vintage events. It's not just our generation, but also you're seeing a lot of young kids that really appreciate the heritage. You know, I've been involved with motorcycling since I was 4 years old, a long time, and to be able to do this and travel around the world and share motorcycling of every ability level and every brand, we're just one big community.
When we're thinking tattoos and motorcyclists, how strong a link do you think there is?
I think the perspective or the perception from the outside people is that there's a huge link there. But from me, I don't have any tattoos. From me doing this experience, I've learned there's so much more depth and decision making behind someone getting a tattoo. It doesn't just mean thug tattoo, bike tattoo, and that's, I think, an outside perception, which is really quite wrong. So yeah, we heard a lot of ladies today, someone turned 50, she thought, you know what, I'm just gonna get some tattoos, and in 3 years she's had 19 tats already, beautiful artwork on her body. So yeah, there is a big link there, and I think there's a bit of a misconception as to the motivation behind it. It doesn't just mean tough bad boy. It can be a beautiful memorabilia to someone who's passed away, and yeah, there's some lovely stories there that we've heard up on stage.
Gary, you love tattoos. You've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, sure have. I started when I was 15, 41 now, so yeah, it's still ongoing.
Have you got any design in mind, or is it something that's just developing over the years?
Yeah, something that's developing over the years. You know, what was popular 20 years ago might not be so popular now, so it's always an evolving sort of art. You know?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because once you've got a tattoo, you can't really ditch it. You've got to modify it somehow.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So there's been a lot that have been done over and changed and stuff like that, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more.
Is there a special theme that you got?
Not in particular. Certain things that I like at the time, give it to a mate and he'll design something and bang, we'll go with it.
Well, tell us some of your favourite pieces.
My favourite piece is probably the pictures of my two girls on my leg. Pretty much photo perfect. And yeah, I love my girls, I love the tattoos, so yeah.
Carl, is tattooing popular in your chapter?
Yeah, there's a few guys starting to get tattoos, yeah, so it is pretty popular, yeah.
Do you think that this is a trend in the motorcycling community?
Harleys and tattoos sort of go together, and yeah, so I think so.
Now, up here at Tamworth, you've won the best overall tattoo, so congratulations. Tell us about your arms. What are you depicting there?
What it is their album covers or singles from the heavy rock band Iron Maiden. So I've always, the band's been going around for 30 years, and I've always liked their album covers and their music sort of stuff. So I thought I'll get their tattoo work.
Well, you've still got room to go there, mate. We'll talk to you in a few years and see what you got.
Exactly, I'll still have. There'll be plenty more to come, but getting the time and the money is the thing, So whether the money goes on the bike or whether it goes on in art, So.
It's a bit of a tough choice.
Yeah, I might have to get another job.
Tell us about the Italian Motorcycle Club.
Well, Greg, the Italian Motorcycle Club is a group of dedicated coffee drinkers who happen to ride motorcycles.
So you take time out from your coffees and your lattes just to go for a ride?
Yeah, coffee's very important, and we sometimes interrupt coffee breaks with a ride.
What sort of bikes have you got?
Well, we've got a pretty eclectic group of bikes within the club. Everything from Benellis, Laverdas, Moto Guzzi's, Ducatis, MV Agusta. We've got the works.
So what sort of rides do you take them on, mate? Besides the coffee run?
Well, being Tasmania, the weather has a huge impact on what we do when we go for a ride. So generally during the cooler months, I'll keep the rides shorter, so 100, 150 kilometres. Then in the spring and autumn, we'll do 200k rides and 300k rides in the summer.
People have said unkind things about British bikes and Italian bikes too, that they often break down, but not these new versions.
No, they're pretty good now. Yeah, you used to get the stories about Italian bikes, electrics and so on, but I've had my MV for 13 years now, and yeah, it's been great. I think we're really fortunate, having fantastic bikes and having fantastic roads to ride them on. We're a really lucky group of people.
Shaun, you've mentioned the Tasmanian Motorcycle Council a number of times. From what I hear, it's been quite effective in influencing the major parties down here.
TMC was established 10 years ago in 2004, and over that decade we have been involved with a range of different things. So our primary thing has been trying to talk to governments and also the opposition about getting a joint approach to how we might engage with motorcycling. And over that decade has been, we've seen the significant growth in motorcycling, not here just in Tasmania, but in Australia and indeed across the Western world.
If we start to ostracise people who wear patch, either in front or behind, well then we may as well stop the Boy Scout. I think Shaun has done a great job, still is doing a great job in the motorcyclist cause and defence.
I do recall hearing that some years ago you managed to stop quite a significant anti-motorcycling measure by getting it rejected in the upper house here.
There was a proposal to introduce a motorcycle safety levy in Tasmania, and we did advocate and lobby quite hard against that, and the government of the day was pretty sure it had the numbers, as they say, in the upper house for the levy to go through, but in fact the upper house rejected the motorcycle safety levy, so that was quite a significant achievement for us. There's now a broad road safety levy, and in the last couple of years we've actually seen some money from the levy then quarantined and set aside for some specific motorcycle safety projects. So it has been a bit of a win-win, you might say.
I notice you've got a completed bike out there, which is a tribute to the Fire Brigade here that fought the recent fires.
Yeah, the fires were in January 2013, and we were heavily involved in taking supplies and goods and care packs and clothing and basically everything that the people needed. They had no houses, no food, nothing, and basically we're just basically hanging at a hotel down at the Dunalley Hotel and surviving in tents. We put something into action where we gathered goods, we paid for goods ourselves, we had goods donated, and we delivered it to the people down at Dunalley and Eagle Hawk Neck and Newbina. With that, it was a very heartfelt thing for myself and everybody that was involved to be able to give back to the community. The bike is basically built around the theme of the fires that we seen on TV and reports back from the Fire Brigade. We also helped the Fire Brigade for a few days where we fed and watered the Fire Brigade and helped them out as well as best we could. But it was a state of emergency, and it was horrific to see what damage was done down there.
It's sad those sort of events happen, but it does tend to bring the community together, and that certainly sounds like you were a big part of that.
Well, it was not only me, there's a lot of members of the motorcycling fraternity here in Hobart and Tasmania, and there was fires up at Bishno as well that we took things to, and it was very heartwarming to see that the general public knew that people were out there to help them.
Maria, how long have you been racing motorbikes?
It's nearly 20 years now. Well, it'll be 20 years next year, so a long time.
You don't look that old, mate.
Oh, bless your heart. I'll pay you later.
How did you start?
Friends of the family, their son had a motorbike. I quite fancied their son. He took me around the motorbike shops, but ultimately I fell in love with a motorbike.
Getting a bike to ride on the road's one thing. How did you get involved in the racing side of it?
I got knocked off on my way to work one morning by a car driver with dodgy eyesight and broke a few bones. Got a compensation check, and that bought my first race bike. To my mum's horror, she wasn't best pleased. She thought I was going to give it all up, but that's where it all started.
So what sort of racing are you doing these days?
I do the Isle of Man, the Northwest 200, the Ulster, and all the Irish Nationals as well. And I also race classic bikes at the Classic TT. Usually sort of throughout a season I'll be riding 8 to 10 different motorcycles, which is really fantastic.
Is there any training skills for women so they can perhaps try and get to the higher echelons of motorcycle racing?
Yeah, so the FIM actually do women's road racing training camps, and I coach on those, and we're looking to do them all over the world really. And I also at home in England do women-only track days for women that just want to improve their riding and gain more confidence on two wheels, and this year I'm doing those at Donington Park.
I've not seen a foot throttle before. What gave you the idea?
I used to get to work with numb fingers on a daily basis and did a bit of research and found that hand-arm vibration syndrome is something we suffer, and it's a cumulative condition. I figured I was too young for this. I need to find a solution. I came up with the foot throttle, which allows me to rest my right hand while I'm riding without losing control.
Well, that's actually a common complaint, isn't it, from riders, that your throttle hand gets sore, and often people have to stop unnecessarily because that's the only thing that they've got to rest.
Yeah, that's right. Sports bikes are a wonderful thing, but damn, they're uncomfortable. And so we had to come up with a solution for that. And the other problem is vibration. I love my KTM V-twin, brilliant thing, but it vibrates really bad at some places.
With the throttle you've got on your foot, has it got a return spring, or do you have to actually disengage it, as you said?
We just step off it, step away from it, and it relies on the return spring built into the throttle body, just like your hand grip does.
What's been the reaction here at the Barrier Sheene Festival of Speed to it?
The best reaction today was, that's brilliant. Motorcycling shouldn't involve pain and discomfort, and so this is our solution to that problem.
Over the last year, you've had a bit of trouble with the bike.
Yeah, we're up in Willowbank for the Winter Nationals last year, and we hydraulicked an engine which destroyed a couple of our heads, so we put them in to get welded up. Our McNoonan's race engines there in Brisbane, and then came to Sydney to race at the Nationals, and yeah, that was a pretty spectacular blow up we had there. So welding on them kind of didn't work that well as what we thought, but so anyway, we went away, we got a new set of heads for it, and put it back together and went out to Perth. From the last meeting, we won the race meeting over there. So
when those sort of things happen, and you're obviously going very quick, does it increase the danger?
Oh, obviously, yeah. I mean, you're laying over a 3-litre bomb here, basically, you know, and when it goes off. You don't know it's going to go off, obviously. It's not like it's on a timer and it's going to go bang. You're just laying there and hope it goes to the end of the track. But once it goes up, it feels like someone whacks in the chest with a sledgehammer. And then when the bolts come out, like one came up, went punched up through the fairing here, another one got me in the shoulder, and the other two wound up in the crowd somewhere, so there's a bit of a bang when it goes off.
No lasting injuries from it?
No, not yet anyway, maybe a little bit in the head, but...
You've been playing around with drag bikes for a long time, Joe.
Yeah, you and I spoke about probably 4 years ago at this same event where I was running in modified bike in the Sydney Championship. Now I'm actually running in a national championship, chasing the points all over Australia.
What's the difference between a modified bike and top fuel?
Modified bike is pretty much a bike you can buy off the showroom floor. You could buy a bike, you can modify it up to do pretty much anything you want to it to run in that class under an index, as opposed to the top fuel, which maybe one day in the future, with the proper sponsorship and obviously the money, it's probably something I'd probably look at doing in the future, but very, very different ball game from what I've been told.
So what would a modified bike do in a standing quarter?
Well, my current one, this one here, is my personal best is a 9.27 at 141 mile an hour, and it pretty much does it consistently, nearly every run.
Does it get hairy at all?
You get a bit of a tail wag up every now and then. It's called what they call the death shake at 141 mile an hour when you're getting up to about the finish line. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's your luck and God's with you. And if the God's with you and you're sitting on your shoulder, he'll pull you out the other end no matter what happens.
Big welcome, everybody. This is a wonderful turnout.
Hey, Betty, how long have you been a member of Ulysses Club?
About 16 years and been running this lot for 15 of those years.
Tell us what you ride.
I ride the BMW 650 CS, which has been lowered by BMW and a little custom clutch fitted so that I don't have to worry about pulling the clutch in.
So you find it easy to ride?
Yes, I do. It's a beautifully well-balanced bike, weight down low, and it goes very well.
So what other things does Ulysses Club do besides going rides, which of course is the most important part of what you do?
Yeah. Well, we are a social club, as you're probably aware, and we do have, we meet for coffee and chat for those riders particularly that used to ride and now no longer do for a variety of reasons.
We support a number of charity events too, I believe.
Oh, we do. I'm actually the Tasmanian coordinator for the Black Dog Ride for awareness of depression and suicide prevention. But we have always run the Pink Ribbon Ride, which is for awareness and fundraising for breast cancer. And also we support the prostate cancer ride now as well.
To me, the Hobart branch does epitomise what the Ulysses Club's about, and that is people who love motorcycling, but it's a social club for older people, and they get together and just have a great time. And, you know, in a way, they happen to have motorcycling in common too. Having said that, there are also many, many people, as I'm aware of, in Ulysses that have come to Ulysses because they've come to motorcycling later in life, and so they've taken up motorcycling and have been attracted to the Ulysses Club too, so that's fantastic.
Well, I'm out here at Eastern Creek at the Sheene Festival of Speed, caught up with another young man who's reliving his youth. Freddie Spencer, welcome to Australia.
Thank you, I appreciate that. It's great to be here, and what a cool event for the 10th anniversary of the Sheene Festival of Speed, and it's a privilege for me to be invited and come back here.
Well, what's your favourite memory from your career?
Well, it's not on a bike. Obviously, the time spent with my dad as a kid, riding 100,000 miles a year, 40 weekends a year, dirt tracking and road racing, and that time spent is what, at the end of his life, we shared together.
Well, your least memorable experience, would Eastern Creek rate?
Yeah, I remember going in turn one. I had a water pump failure, the last Australian Grand Prix I raced in, it was here. But you know what? You always think about races you should have won, maybe, or championships. But again, the privilege I had of being involved with Honda and win their first 500 championship is priceless and a real privilege.
Well, you certainly have a great reputation in this country. You're also very well known for your Christian faith. How do you make the two mix?
But I think there's a real connection, between, in my opinion, motorcycling and faith, because faith, to me, is really about trusting and recognizing and sensing and feeling and understanding what you do every day. And it's not so much about going to a place of worship for me. It's more about what we share together.
He's very open about his faith. His faith set him apart from the other racers of his day and definitely gave him a quiet strength. He's a prodigy. No one can win 2 different classes at that level and not have something solid to ground them in my way of understanding things.
Racing was not really about winning and losing for me. I just knew that's what I was supposed to do, and I think that's the key to finding the right path in that individual and belief and certainty in what you do. And so, you know, there's a real connection, you know, for me, and I believe everything happens for a reason. And that's the good and the bad. And the struggles give me strength, and the success gives me appreciation.
Fast Freddie, if you're going to end your career, you might as well stack it at the end of the straight, don't you think?
Well, look, they always remember him at Eastern Creek. I guess he remembers it too, because he did recall it when we were talking.
Yeah, there's other ways of being remembered, but that's Freddie's way. We'll catch you next week on Temporary Australians. Until then, shiny side up.